Ma'amad Har Sinai, Chet HaEgel, fallen angels. The Pasuk in Tehillim says, Ani amati Elokim atem, uvnei elyon kulchem, achein ka'adam temusin. I thought that you would be like Elokim. B'nei Elyon, you'd be lofty people like Elokim. However, alas, you will die as human beings. What is the meaning of this? What is the Pasuk referring to? The Medrash says that by Ma'amad Har Sinai, after Kabbalas HaTorah, the first luchos, Klal Yisrael were on a madrega of malachim. They were like malachim. And as it's mavur in the Sforim, the Goyen, the Beis HaLevi, the Ramchal, that after Kabbalas HaTorah, by Ma'amad Har Sinai, Klal Yisrael was like a bechin of Adam Harishon Koydem HaChet. Adam Harishon, before the Chet, he was in Gan Eden, and there was no Misa. There was no Gzeir of Misa. And he had a comprehension of the Rabbeinu Shel Olam, an understanding of the Rabbeinu Shel Olam and the Sisrei Olam and the Torah without Omal Yigiyah. He didn't have to work hard for anything, not for Parnasa. There was no concept of toil and sweat, Omal V'Yigiyah. It was only after the Chet, only after his Chet, the Nochal, the Medrash says, the Nachash Hitel Boy Zuama. The Nachash Hitel in Adam and Chava Zuama, it was Niknas Alayim Misa. There was a Gzeira that they would die. There was a Gzeira that their flesh would decompose. There was a Gzeira of Bezeas Apecha Toichal Lecha. And as the Sforim explain, before the Chet, before this Zuama, the Gashmi and the Ruchni of Adam and Chava, there was one. They were as one. They were partners. They weren't fighting with each other. There wasn't this war between the Olam HaGashmi and the Olam HaRuchni. The Ruchni elevated the Gashmi until the physical became spiritual. And there was no Misa. It was eternal, just like Ruchni is eternal, just like something which is spiritual is eternal. Their gufim, their bodies, the physical, was intertwined, became part and parcel of the Ruchni, was eternal. There was no Misa. It didn't decompose. It was not purely physical. They didn't have a gzira of Bezeas Apecha Toichal Lecha. They didn't have to toil with the sweat of their brow. Not for their parnasa, not for their livelihood, but not also even to comprehend the Rabbeinu Shel Olam. It came without effort. At Ma'amad Har Sinai, Klal Yisrael was restored to Ke'ein, that madrega of Adam Harishon Koydem HaChet, before the Chet. Ke'ein, Adam Harishon before the Chet in Gan Eden. Meaning, as the Medrash says, that there was no Gzeir of Misa, and their flesh would not decompose. And they would be able to comprehend the Torah without Omal and Yigiyah, as the Beis HaLevi points out in the Riches. He said the Luchos, Harishonis, the first set of Luchos, had all the Torah and the Bira Torah and the Sisrei Torah were all written on the Luchos. The Torah Shabbal Peh was all written on the Luchos. They could comprehend the Torah without having Omal V'Yigiyah, without having to sweat day and night, to harav over the Torah. It would come without Omal Yigiyah, like Adam Echad, Amrishon Koydem HaChet. It was only after the Chet of the Egel, the Luchos were broken. The second Luchos Torah was given. But there the Pasuk says that Moshe Rabbeinu had to write the Luchos. Ksav Lucha. Now it would have to come not as a gift. Now it would be written not from the Rabbeinu Shalom. It would be not given as a gift without effort. Moshe Rabbeinu had to write it, and Rosh Shkop Zatzal points out, and that is a siman for the Limud HaTorah and the Kabbalah HaTorah that we have, is that now it comes with Amal V'Yagia. We have to write the Sefer Torah. We have to make the hachonas. We have to make the preparations. We have to put in the effort day and night. We have to put in all that effort. This is a madrega now of Adam Harishon after the Chet Egel. We now reverted back to the matzav of after the Chet of Adam Harishon. However, not completely. Not totally. Because as the Gemara says, Gemara Shabbos, Gemara Ksuvah, the Gemara says that Mimpnei Ma, why Klal Yisrael does not have the Zuama that others do? Because we stood at Maimon Har Sinai. We were there at Maimon Har Sinai. Meaning, even though there was a Chet of the Egel, and even though there was the Gzeira, and even though now we reverted back, but not completely, and not totally. Because we still were at Maimon Har Sinai. And some of that Zuama that the Nochash HaKadmoni placed inside Adam and Chava, that was removed from us. And that's why we are different. And even in the Dara Midbar, the Gemara says that even in that door itself, the Rima was not shaylit on them after they were nifter. So we still retain some of that lofty madrega. We still retain something of that ability to grasp the Amkos HaTorah that will be given to us, that's given to us and allows us to comprehend above our natural abilities. That was given as matana, as they had in the first luchos, before the Chet HaEgel. We still have something of that. We still have a me'ain. We were at Har Sinai. We were at Har Sinai. And therefore, Paska Mehem Zuma. So we have somewhat of that ability. And as the Ramchal points out on several occasions, every Chag that we have, every Moed that we have, we can to a certain extent recreate the hashpah, the influence, the matzav ruchni that was there at that time. And therefore, we have the ability, to a certain degree, to connect with that hashpah that was there on Maimon Har Sinai. And on Shavuos night, we have, to a certain extent, the ability to connect with that lofty madrega of Maimon Har Sinai, when we had the hashpah of the Torah, we were given the Torah of Matana, and we were able to comprehend the depths of the Torah. And if we prepare ourselves for that, and if we have the rotzen and the desire to connect with that, we can, to a certain extent, attain something of that lofty madrega. Chaim Vital writes, Peladigzach. He said that the Arizal suggested to him on 3 days before Shavuot, Shleishis Mehag Bola, Heinu Chanim L'Shleishis Yomim. Prepare yourself for Maimon Har Sinai. So the Arizal said, fast for these 3 days. For the next 3 days, fast. Make yourself into a person who is ruchni. Try to distance yourself as much as possible from the Gashmi. Fast for these 3 days. And that's what he did. Then Shavuos night, after fasting for these 3 days, Shavuos night, he together with the Arizal, they were learning Torah the whole night. They didn't sleep at all. They were learning Torah the whole night, Shavuos night, and he said, and that Shavuos night that they learned with the Arizal, he was able to attain an understanding, a remarkable understanding with the Seidas, the Sisrei HaTorah that he did not have before. That Madrega of Elokim Atem, that you're lofty, that you're like angels, that you're elevated above and transcend this Olam Hagashmi, that lofty Madrega of Maimon Har Sinai, we can attain somewhat of it. Something of it we can still attain. But it requires achana. It requires preparation and desire. And may we be zoicha to some of the special hashpah